Hi, welcome back to my channel. Welcome back to my YouTube. Thanks for coming to my second video. I assume that you watched the first one, which was Ascending in Love, the 6 ways to do it, from subconsciously to consciously, and how to create a union within love, and the 6 different steps that you kind of approach within a masculine and feminine state. So now we're gonna do descending stages of love.
The first was ascending.
Now it's descending. What stage are you in and what can you do to repair it? It's 10 stages, so stay with me, stick with me, and we're gonna see where we are in terms of our relationships and what we really need to pay attention to and look at right now. The first stage of descending love is stage 1, union, the summit. Ooh. The essence of this stage is 2 people moving from wholeness, not need. The language is, I see you clearly and I still choose you. The energy is grounded, alive, unafraid. When the descending begins, something very small shifts in the dynamic. Awareness fades into assumption, presence becomes performance, and the fall starts here. Silently. More so in this stage, I hint that there's some type of underlining mental thoughts. Asking yourself, okay, so what am I assuming about this other person? What am I continuously searching for? What am I projecting onto this person that makes this person uncomfortable and is also not making me comfortable with the results that I'm getting? Maybe you're saying you need more reassurance. Maybe instead of projecting it onto this person in this stage, you should be, or if you feel like you're lacking or you're slacking in terms of like security within yourself, then you should go find your own hobbies and you shouldn't be worrying about what this other person is doing. If you had a lot of turmoil with this person, I can understand why you may have some insecurities pop up within the union, but that doesn't mean that someone's actually doing something, especially if it took a long way to get here. The mind will literally play tricks on you to believe things that aren't there. So make sure first your assumption is just an assumption, not truth. If you're seeking truth through your assumption, make sure you ask yourself too, like, is it really something that I'm gonna temper with my relationship for? Is this really something that I'm gonna make my masculine or feminine feel like I don't trust them or they're not trustworthy? Why do I feel that way inside? Ask yourself those questions. It's important to self-reflect in these stages to make sure you're not projecting. But if you are sensing something using your intuition, using your discernment, that's a different story. But then we can continue to the descending of love. Stage 2, complacency. The plateau before the slide. So the essence here, comfort replaces curiosity. Big no-no. The lovers stop seeing each other and start managing each other. Ritual becomes routine. No spontaneousness. No spontaneity, I feel like it's the word. But the signs here, conversations shrink to logistics. Small irritations go unspoken. Passion turns into polite coexistence. The lesson here, love without attention becomes just a memory. Next is stage 3, projection, the inversion. The essence here, the mirror flips outward. What was once ours becomes yours, mine, his, hers, and that's not a good sign.
What happens here?
You may hear continuous patterns being spoken, such as you've changed, you never, you always. Idealization turns into disappointment. The energy shifts from co-creation to defensiveness. The heart begins guarding instead of giving. You can't keep loving someone you're trying to prove wrong. You can't love someone you keep trying to prove wrong. Are you self-sabotaging? Are you using fear? Are you using fear? Are you not loving to your complete capacity of love because you're scared? Are you scared? You already made it to union. Why are you going back now? Is it really worth it? Ask yourself that. Is it worth it to back down now? Anyways, stage 4. Makeup going on here. The sun is looking kind of weird in my power struggle. The storm. the essence here. Ego takes the throne. Love becomes negotiation, blame, and comparison. Behavioral layer, silent treatments, scorekeeping, emotional withdrawal. Each partner tries to control the narrative to avoid pain. Spiritual layer, the masculine loses root, direction becomes control. The feminine loses flow, emotion becomes manipulation. Control is the mask that fear wears when it's terrified to lose connection. I'm not gonna lie, this situation has been prevalent in some of the situations or relationships that I have been in myself. One thing I can say is fear drives people. I'm gonna make a video about that one day, but fear drives people to horrendous and heinous lengths. Love is one of the most dangerous things that a person can feel and encounter, because not everyone gets to feel love in their lifetime. And not everyone grew up on a healthy version of love. Therefore, when they are presented with love, they don't know what the fuck to do with it. They're gonna mishandle it. They're not gonna know where to put it at, where to put it down at. They're not gonna know anything about it, okay? And that's literally just not their fault. But it comes to a point where they just want to hold on to you, and they don't realize that that fear of abandonment, that fear of losing the connection is making it worse for reconciliation. Because say if you just parted and you agreed that y'all weren't ready, that could have prevented so many things that happened from the mishandling of somebody else and the mishandling of that person's perspective of love. Because say if they grew up in unhealthy love, they're going to project their version of love onto you, and it's going to create just not a healthy dynamic. Especially if I'm getting too like projecty personal, but yeah, people use fear all the time when it comes to somebody leaving them. Oh my god. And when it comes to the ego, some people cannot fathom somebody leaving them, so they would do anything in their egotistical power as well to keep you there. They will manipulate you. So just know what type of situations you're getting into and when to kind of realize when you're kind of in too deep, when it's time to actually descend, and use this as a way to get the freak out and realize at what point you're in and how dangerous that it could possibly actually be. Stage 5. Disillusionment, the fading light. The story collapses. What once felt divine now feels ordinary, or worse, false. Experience, nostalgia replaces presence. Are you reminiscing about the relationship and not even really feeling it anymore, not really seeing what you once felt within the connection? Every touch carries memory instead of meaning, and hope feels heavier than leaving. Illusion must die for truth to live, but many stay here mourning the fantasy instead of mourning themselves. Stage 6. Detachment, the quiet exit. The heart closes before the door does. One person stops fighting, not from peace, but from exhaustion. The emotions are like numbness that feels like maturity. Behavior is planning escape routes, rewiring the past to justify them. Lesson, detachment without understanding becomes denial. Detachment without understanding becomes denial. Stage 7. Fragmentation, the collapse. The lovers no longer mirror, they trigger. Every interaction reopens old wounds that predate the relationship. The patterns, projection loops, trauma reenactments, and you sound like my mother, father, ex comes into play. What breaks you here isn't the other person. It's meeting your own unhealed child through their eyes. So with this stage, I just want it to be prevalent that relationships, they go up and down all the time. And a lot of the time, you're not able to have certain triggers triggered until you're in a relationship. If you feel like the only way for you to heal is to isolate, you're not gonna heal the way that you think you are, because you define lessons through experiences. You define mistakes through experiences of what you like and what you don't like. Experiences shape you as a person. So if you're never actually going out, because like say if your heart is closed or anything like that, you're not gonna draw. And mind you, you have to realize that you're an energetic vessel at the end of the day as well. So whatever you're feeling inside energetically is what is what is going to mirror you and what's going to attract you. So say if you are closed-hearted and you go through life, you're just going to have other people who are familiar and closed-hearted as well. And you don't want a dynamic, especially if you're already hurt, and then you try to actually somewhat pursue something and then you have a closed heart. It's just not gonna work like that. But yeah, relationships are up and down all the time. Ask any married person you know what has been their lowest lows. Important in those relationships not to tell everybody else your business, but if you're genuinely curious and you want to know about marriage relationships, ask your married friends or get friends who have healthy relationships, who you also surround yourself with. When they say birds of a feather, that shit was not a lie. It's true. At least like in the mindset of somehow there's some reason you're friends with a person, some reason why y'all mirror, y'all connected, y'all had some type of familiarity. The reason why y'all become friends, because you have a thought pattern that still coexists with this other person, whether it be subconscious or consciously, but whatever. If you keep on being triggered by your relationship, that's actually a good thing. That means that you're working towards a higher goal. It just depends on if you want to treat that as like a stop sign or do you want to treat it as like a dead end. At the end of the day, it's all in your hands. If you're letting fear and ego drive you in your relationship, you're doing it all wrong. Stage 8, separation, the fall itself. The essence. The souls untangle, love's body dies, the spirit lingers. You may feel either relieved, either grief, maybe them even braided together, binded together. Silence after the storm feels like both death and deliverance. Every ending is awareness being reborn as solitude. Every ending is awareness being reborn in solitude. Stage 9, echo, the shadow memory. You replay it in your head, editing, analyzing, romanticizing. This is where the nostalgia distorts truth. You're not loving them anymore. You're loving the version of yourself that existed when you did. Last but not least, stage 10, return back to self. The descending completes its cycle. What began as union with another becomes reunion with self. Awareness reawakens, and the realization is, I didn't lose love, I lost the illusion that lived outside of me. Lesson here. The descending wasn't failure, it was the curriculum. Every fall is just love learning its own death. So in a sense, it's like you start off meeting somebody that mirrors you, that shows you familiarity, and what you really see in that person is yourself. And you seem to categorize as someone perfect for you, and you start including them in your fantasies and your dreams, but the whole time you're just valuing the parts of yourself that you love about yourself. But then this person could also show you things that you hate about yourself, hate that you tolerate, hate that you see within them, hate that you see your parents within yourself, hate that you allow certain things, hate that you lost the version of yourself that loved with no boundaries, that loved wholeheartedly. As annoying as it is to have to play chess throughout life and have to be so calculated when it comes to love, it may be annoying, but you have to be calculated with yourself. You know, you are built of an algorithm. From little old you was 0 years old, and now how old are you? So throughout all of these years, I'm pretty sure that you've learned something valuable enough to add it into your relationships. So the algorithm that your life is based upon, with all of your decisions that you made, whether you stayed in the cycles of you repeating bad decisions bad decisions for no reason, or I don't know, say you learn from them and you change your ways, which is great, but you had to go through certain experiences to know that you had to change in specific ways, correct? So don't be too hard on yourself and give yourself grace when it comes to falling in love and falling out of love. Sometimes separation is needed for you to find yourself again, because God believed that you got too codependent, too comfortable in your relationship dynamic. Something had to change. So make sure you're looking at the exterior as well as the interior of yourself and your relationship. Step outside of yourself and be able to see what's truly wrong and what's truly right. Remember, discernment is key. And go watch the first video if you haven't. Like, comment, subscribe. Follow me on TikTok and Instagram, Triggered by Serena. My ebook, High Value Dating Standards for the Naive Mind, is out on Shopify for $13.99. I was naive once. I was naive more than once. Twice, maybe even more. They say third time's a charm, but sometimes a girl does not learn until she does. But this is Triggered by Serena, so I hope you all have a great day. Come on, bud.